What is up, Karma Nation, and everybody joining us on the Masters edition of the SuperDraft podcast, our first podcast with SuperDraft. We're proud and humbled to be working with them over the last 6 to 9 months here with a number of our other sports. But we're saving the best for the Masters, Sam. I mean, here we are, November. The time has come. Masters here, right around the corner. I'm so excited. I mean, this is our favorite tournament of the year, obviously for DraftKings and FanDuel. But again, I'm happy to be playing on SuperDraft. They've been great partners with us, and we're really going to dive into some of the analytics that you have created and cultivated. And frankly, you do this with all of our sports at dfskarma.com. And we're going to kind of navigate for people who are new, who have not played SuperDraft, the multiplier effect, and then some of the things that Sam has put together on this sheet that'll help us bring good thoughts together tonight, hopefully, on constructing good lineups. They got a $20 tournament, promo code Karma, people, SuperDraft, promo code Karma, and there's $50,000 payout, or $10,000 to first right now, and there will be more tournaments coming about, but we wanted to get this podcast out now so it can live in the Twitter and the YouTube universe for you all. So enough of the opening. Sam, let's start talking some golf. I mean, you've been on a mega run as far as guys you bet on in the fall swing. Your content's been A+. I mean, in full disclosure, I hate saying this, but fall swing for me is a time to do other things really at Karma and frankly, focus on some other things. And I have not been as involved in the fall swing. And it makes me sick because I'm starting to like it. A couple of years ago, I never even played fall swing. So I've been dipping my toes into the water. I've had an incredible run, really just going over your final thoughts cheat sheet in specific, which you post every week at dfskarma.com. So let's get into it. Hey, how's things going for you? What's going on in the golf world? Anything we need to talk about, storylines, and then any current form things. And let's talk about the course, which is what we do on our normal podcast, what we're looking at. This is a huge course history course. Usually this is something we just really breeze through every time we're on a podcast. We'll bring it up, but course history at the Masters, as you said, is integral. So let's get into it, man. And then we'll bring up our cheat sheet. So for you YouTube people, hang tight. I know our faces are very good to look at, but we will have a nice analytical cheat sheet for you in a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this sheet will be embedded, like you said, on dfskarma.com under the golf tab for SuperDraft. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Fall swing, there's such an edge because people are so focused on football, and a lot of these kind of, quote unquote weaker field events are guys that like I obviously follow all year, and it's not just the big names. So there's definitely an advantage. It's obviously it's so not shocking that I put in like triple the amount of work and then you take all the plays and then money.
That's how it rolls, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, I think it's everyone knows this, but it like can't be stressed enough, like how important course history is here. Whether you think it matters in general, it doesn't matter. But I mean, if you just look at like the history, I mean, like they call them debutantes there, but like first time guys, like no one's ever won in their first time. And the winners normally come from a pretty concentrated bucket. So, and it makes sense. I mean, you have guys like, Tiger, who last year was playing a little better than this year, but he just knows how to play the course. He knows where to miss. He knows where not to miss. And that's why, I think there's going to be so much hype. Guys like Bryson, he's carrying the ball 600 yards, but like the greens are insanely fast. They don't post what they are, but they're probably running over 14 on the stimp. The cut, I mean, the cut will be probably between 4, 5, 6 over. And I think the only thing I'll say about the course is I think a lot will be discussed about what's going to be different. It's only played in April. I mean, it's hard to say. I think it'll be a little cooler, obviously. I think there should be different kinds of wins. There's like a lot of deceptive wins that go on. Like we've seen people like last year, like Finau and Brooks and Molinari collapsed on number 12 and you can't feel the wins. So I think there's even a bigger advantage for guys who just have played a lot and they know how it works and they know where to take their medicine and they know what to do. So yeah, SuperDraft is interesting because there is an edge there, in my opinion. I'm not sure how much Anthony's dabbled with it compared to me, but I know it's same with all sports, but there's no salary cap. So yeah, it's funny. And you could play DJ, Bryson, Rahm, Xander, JT if you want, but there's such an edge because a lot of people will do that. And when you get these guys, it's similar to on DraftKings or FanDuel, when you just want your cheap 6K guy to make the cut. It's similar here when you have a guy who has a multiplier of 1.5, meaning he gets 1.5 of the normal points and he makes the cut. He could easily finish 21st and beat out the guy who's 1x multiplier to finish 9th. So it's a good one. I'm excited they released their pricing early, and I'm ready to get into it. Best week of the year.
Yeah, it seems like the variance is definitely going to be more of a wide range of outcomes for the way that you can build these lineups. There's not going to be, at least I don't think there would be, heavy concentration on certain guys unless, and we'll get to it through the sheet here, but it's not going to be Justin Rose priced at 7,400, for example. Like when we get those fun things on DraftKings. But yeah, I'm excited. First time for me for golf. I've dabbled in the past with some of the other sports, but yeah, like I said, looking forward to kind of diving in right now. And I definitely think there's ways to think outside the box. I mean, just looking at it right now and looking at your sheet, Travis, if you're there, I don't know if you can pull up the sheet now, and we can start getting into it. I think one of the first things I'm looking at with this sheet, if it's up right now, is it up?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing that sticks out to me, and this is obviously your piece of artwork, so I'll let you kind of get at it too as well, but I never look at these things. But yes, to your point on the opening, average finish last 5 years. I'm moving my eyeballs and I'm gravitating there. For the people who don't play much golf, this isn't a category that you really are weighting really that much, but especially in a weird year, a COVID year, a fall swing. And, it's like, I don't like the way that this slate's already kind of playing out. So this is going to be my little safe haven spot. Like, this is going to be I'll feel better about my plays going to this column in specific, on those coin flip decisions when you're making your lineup. So I probably will weight a majority of my players to the guys that are highlighting in green. So I'll probably, of course, take some shots elsewhere, but that's just my first look. You can talk about some of the guys that you highlighted in green on the names itself that I'm looking at. And then we'll get into like some of the strokes gains and some of the other things as well, and talk about how, data in specific that goes to Karma, dfskarma.com, for all our sports. Like, this stuff can be helpful as you are making lineups really for all of our platforms, but in specific tonight, we're talking SuperDraft.
Yeah, I mean, I think things that kind of stick out, and okay, so like you have it's similar, when we talk about DraftKings on our weekly pod, there's really merit to playing, any of these guys up top. It's just a matter of what you want the rest of your roster to look like. I mean, I would never advocate in general, I would never take guys that are all 1.5x or higher. I mean, and I think especially with Augusta, I mean, right. I don't know how it depends how you sort it, but like if the field is, call it 85, 90, 95 guys, you can probably pretty safely eliminate, the bottom 20, I'd have to say, because it's guys who, there's amateurs who come in, there's the guys, since you have a lifetime exemption. I mean, Fred Couples hilariously seems to like show up and like he'll randomly finish top 20, but guys like Sandy Lyle and Larry Mize and Mike Weir, I mean, they're going to miss the cut by 1,000. And so it really, if you just can kind of dwindle your player pool down like that, and then kind of figure out which studs you have a lot of conviction in. I mean, for me, for instance, like we'll talk about trends, and it'll be in my betting article next week where I'll kind of outline kind of quote unquote master trends, guys who can win, and then guys who I think are in the right form of the history. But, I like DJ Bryson. Again, I mean, yeah, he's pretty fit for this course, and he's obviously playing really well, but he doesn't really have any impressive finishes. I mean, over his last 3 years, his highest is 21st, and that was in 2016. I get he hits the ball a country mile, but I mean, and not the rough here is that brutal, but I mean, there's a lot of ways to get in trouble, and if he's on the wrong parts of these greens or off the green, he could be in a little trouble. So I think my favorite guys, when I'm kind of looking, I'm sorting by just the multiplier from 1 and descending from that. I mean, I like DJ. I really like Rahm. And honestly, I'm wondering, even though I don't think he's going to win, I mean, Morikawa does fit this course so well, and he's obviously
that's my guy.
Elite. I mean,
Morikawa.
yeah, I mean, it's like 1.1 isn't like an elite multiplier, but I think it's pretty solid. I think up there, like I said, it's hard to really full fade any of these guys. I think the only guy I don't have a ton of interest in is, I mean, I never really play Xander. He's obviously an elite talent and he's a really good par 5 scorer, but he just, once his putter luck runs out, I think he could be in for a little bit of hurt here.
So real quick,
yeah.
Real quick, did you address the scoring format, like for birdies and eagles?
Yeah, that'll be in my article as well. It's similar. I mean, I think it's like one less. Like if you take DraftKings scoring is 3 points for a birdie, so it's like 2, and then par is 1, and I know like a bogey is -1, whereas I'm pretty sure on DraftKings it's -0.5. But you do have the birdie streak bonus like DraftKings does. I don't think FanDuel doesn't have that, do they?
No, FanDuel does, but
it's
FanDuel
3 points for
won't work anyway.
4 points instead of 5 for a bogey-free round. So it's pretty similar and similar scoring finish points as well. But it's I kind of view this similar to DraftKings, and it's like, maybe it'll be a little different time of year, but you can expect that score in that like -12 to -15 range. The guys have to score on the par 5s. There are eagles, so if kind of splitting hairs in these top guys, I definitely will favor the guys who are elite off the tee because driving distance is shown to be pretty predictive here. So the guys like Rory or Rahm, I tend to favor. I think my favorite guy, if I'm looking kind of, 1.15 and less, I really like Patrick Cantlay. I'll just say it now. I'll say it next week again. I think he's my pick to win. Even though I'm not a fan of the guy, he's playing well. He just won. He fits all the criteria. And then I also like Ricky Fowler. I mean, Ricky has been horrible, but he shows up to Augusta and just plays well. I mean, that's just... He
does. Well, he is 1.15. I would have thought before looking at your cheat sheet that he might be closer to 1.25, just the way he's been playing. So that kind of is the only... Yeah. That's the only downer. And... Yeah. For people looking at this sheet, the one thing I'm interpreting literally live while going through this and helping my brain, because I'll be looking at this more throughout the week before the tournament. So obviously your SD rank is basically how you're filtering your overall algorithm, correct? On the actual player baked in with the multiplier.
That's my overall SuperDraft rank, and that'll change a little bit when we get more stuff. But yeah, it's kind of taking in that stat rank. The driving one I isolated because it's a good one because driving distance, par 5s, and then their current form. And then
I don't know if my cursor is coming up, Travis, who's working in the back end of this, but I'm circling on a guy, Ohio guy, who actually his agent was just at the Browns game with my friend this past weekend, and I did hear some funny information on Kokrak. He doesn't even like playing golf anymore. He wouldn't be playing golf if he won more throughout his career. I thought that was actually really interesting, but it's the Masters. He's going to show up. Kokrak's been playing awesome this year. Yep. I feel like he's ascended to probably what he could have been doing. It's just coming a little bit later in his career. But just looking at this super multiplier column that you have, I mean, it's like, dark red. You see the low ones, and then bam, 1.35. So to me, Kokrak sticks out like a sore thumb on this sheet. I know there's not really the average rank here in the last 5 years. Frankly, I don't know if that means he hasn't played ever because this sheet goes the last 5 years, which is fine. But yeah, I would take a hard look. I mean, I'll 100% be playing Kokrak in a few of my lineups. I'm making that $20 tournament that pays $10,000 to first, which probably won't even fill on SuperDraft. And it's just a good way to get some marbles in there and attack this slate. So Kokrak for me stands out.
I mean, now for me, guys who stand out, I mean, I was going to ask you about 2 guys in particular. I mean, I like a Total Fish did bet at 66 to 1. I mean, we're talking about guys who just show up. I mean, Jordan Spieth, dude. I mean, is he just like, is this just
you got to play him in tournaments. I mean,
yeah, 100%. I mean, 1.2 is not bad given how he has lit this course up over the last 5 years. So I like
it's also not a great multiplier though for him. Like it should be like 1.5,
Yeah, I mean, I think the best if you're kind of if I'm talking value with the multiplier, I mean, Lee Westwood, I expect to get popular. We talked about him pre-pod. I mean, he literally has made 8 of 8 cuts in his last 10 years with I think 5 top 10s or 6 top 10s. And the other guy I highlighted, I mean, Kuchar used to be that guy who's like the lock and load cash play in every site, but 1.35 is not bad for someone who just has played well at Augusta in his career. I mean, he's just as always played well. I mean, on the sheet, I have 5 years to not get it, too much. But if we look at Kuchar, I mean, I have it back to 10 years. He's literally not missed a cut in 10 years. So
where's he at? Is he all the way down on the sheet? What number is he right?
Kuchar's 1.35.
Oh, I see him. Wow. Yeah, he is way down there. You actually have him highlighted in green too as somebody that sticks out. And I agree. He's not going to be played much just because of the fact of, he's had a terrible year, more or less.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, a lot of these guys, they just haven't played a lot. When we talk about form, I think, it just makes the course history even more paramount. I mean, you have guys that I still like Sungjae Im hasn't played here, which I know is probably shocking a lot of people because he's been so good, but I still like him. I think that's a fair multiplier for him. I don't obviously because he's his first time, I don't think he'll win, but he definitely has the scoring upside to pay off that salary. I like, but then there's other guys here, which I don't really have a lot of interest in. I mean, I don't know. You can play Phil. Yeah, he's won here a lot. He's played well. He can't find a fair way. I mean, I'm not playing Brendan Todd. I don't care how good of a putter he is.
Let me tell you
who's
going to win. Let me just tell you who's going to win. Here's who's going to win. I've had this vision since pre-COVID. I was going to play him. I had that huge ticket qualifier on DraftKings. Obviously, it moved to the PGA Championship. I'm sticking with my gut for all the reasons I was on him earlier in the year. And then he had a swoon, and I guess some people will label it towards him having the baby. But, dude, Rory McIlroy is winning this year. I felt like the last couple of years he was knocking on the door. I mean, you can see in the 2019 result, it was 21st. But I feel like, and again, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like he had a wild collapse like on the weekend, and he was still in the running to win. And then 2018, I vividly remember he was right there to the end. This is a Rory course, especially the way that it sets up for the draw players. A little bit of time off during fall swing. Okay, now the baby's not just a couple weeks old, it's a couple months old. Maybe he's finally getting some sleep. I don't know, man. I actually have one bet right now out at the Masters. I just made it live on this podcast to confirm my thoughts. It's Rory, and I'm playing him, and he gets the 1.1 discount too, which, it's nothing crazy, but you see Rahm at 1.105, Alexander Schauffele at 1.105. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he should be one, just like Bryson and DJ and Rahm and Xander, and he's a little bit of a value.
Yeah, I mean, I could never really argue against playing Rory, and his finishes show for themselves. I mean, my only thing is, and this is probably more of a narrative than anything, I really feel like Augusta is going to be for him, it's going to be like Phil's U.S. Open. It's going to be it's just going to be one of those things where he just can't get it. And it's funny that, Rory came out of COVID after he had like a million top tens in a row, hasn't been as good. And I agree with you. It could be something with the new baby, but yeah, I'm not going to say I can't see him winning, but I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, if I was going to pick a winner from this top tier over Rory, it'd be Rahm. I mean, Rahm is just playing so well. Probably the best or second best driver of the ball on tour behind Bryson. Top 10s the last 2 years. I think his mental game is way better than it was. So if I was going to go a top tier win, and I think actually that's the thing. I mean, I want to make it clear to a lot of people. I mean, I'm not like fully fading these guys with low multipliers. I mean, if Rahm or DJ or Bryson or Rory wins, yeah, you probably want them in your lineup.
Yeah, you're gonna need one or two of those guys up top. You just have to. I think that is early on. Again, I'm not super draft expert guy by any means, at least just yet. But you have to have one, if not two of those guys up top, and just don't get sucked into the vortex that, oh, it's just a one multiplier. It's not going to really matter. I mean, these guys generally win the Masters, especially the majors in general. One of them's going to win. Excuse me. If you look at the screen, I filtered by the Augusta strokes gain total, which is probably a better aggregate than just the last 5 years. So, obviously Spieth, I know it's funny to look at, but that just goes to show you, it's like, dude, the standard deviation of him in specific on this course versus the field, no matter the form, because he hasn't played well in years. It's just, yeah, I mean, I think you just got to play Spieth in some of your lineups depending on how many you build. But clearly, you can see the top guys, and it's by a wide margin. Is Spieth, Rory, Justin Rose, man. I mean, man, we're looking more into him for
I was gonna ask you about
draft.
Rose.
Wow.
He's been so weird. He like was so like came back that first tournament after COVID, came like second or something, almost in a playoff, and then like was a disaster. And then the PGA Championship finishes like top 10, and then was a disaster again. So I don't know what to make of him. He burned everyone last year, including me.
Again, this is kind of why we let off with like, let's kind of resort towards more the historical strokes gained. Obviously, it's kind of correlates with this last 5 years column, but this is probably more of a better way to decipher the numbers. But there's your boy Ricky. I mean, and it's not close. Like the standard deviation kind of bottoms. Ricky's kind of the floor here, and then you get the cluster of a lot of the other field here. So you're looking at some major course horses right here with Ricky Fowler, Hideki. We haven't even mentioned Hideki, but you and I talk about him at nausea throughout the seasons. I mean, he's just a stud. Play Hideki. Like, the dude just comes top 20 every time. If not, he's going to bank a top 10. And at one point, Hideki will win a major. DJ, we've talked about him. Rose, we were just talking about him. I really wouldn't worry about really current form. It's just such an odd year that we're going into a Masters, and like current form's just like out the door. I mean, that's why in specific, again, this data is going to be on the website in our Discord chats. I think it's important to kind of filter and look through this as well. I don't know if you want to.
I want your thoughts on three guys: Finau, Brooks, and Jason Day. I know you're
so. Real quick, just bring me up to speed on. I mean, again, it's 2020 COVID. Finau's like fine, right? Like I know he got COVID, but he's like good to go.
Yeah, I know. I thought he was gonna start some rust, but he played just fine. I think he was. I mean, I thought he was.
To answer your question, I fade Jason Day all the time. If he burns me, I mean, you can see him. He's up here historically with strokes gained. I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, I nailed Day at the PGA Championship, but since then he's not looked right. I don't really have any interest. He had that withdrawal 2 weeks ago, but that's pretty common for him. So I don't know. My one I'm worrying about is Brooks.
Oh, I would never play Brooks. I hate Brooks. I'm not playing Brooks. No.
But I think like just because he hasn't done anything, he was injured. Like I think this week's tournament for the Houston Open, no one's gonna play him. I don't think anyone's gonna play him at Augusta unless he finishes like top 10.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what he does this week. I didn't realize that players like him were playing this week. Are there other guys playing like him this week? Big dogs?
DJ's, I think of the top guys playing this week, DJ's playing, Brooks is playing. Trying to think how the other studs. I mean, Hatton's playing. Hatton is someone I want to bring up. He's been pretty hot over here on the year. I don't really have any interest in him at Augusta.
I do. I'm playing Hatton. Hatton's just lights out, dude. Dude's just balling this year.
I know, I agree. And I thought I would like him more, but he just like has just never played well here. I don't really know why. But again, as much as we'll talk about course history, probably at nauseum, at the same time, you also have to make sure you account for the fact that guys aren't the same players. So it's like,
wait, Molinari's playing? Speaking of,
he is dead.
Is he played once this entire year?
He played like 2 weeks ago and missed the cut at like a horrible field. I mean,
amazing.
I think the most polarizing guys, and I can almost say this for any site, is Paul Casey, who just killed everyone last year, again, including me, when he shot 1,000. He's an interesting one. I think Poulter is a great play. I think he has like that sneaky top 10 upside, who I like a lot. I really think no one's going to own Stenson because he hasn't really done anything, hasn't really played. Last week, he was like 100 over on the front nine and withdrew to kill people. So I think he's interesting. And then I'm surprised you didn't bring him up because he's kind of your boy, but Scotty Scheffler, 1.25. I think that's a pretty good price.
That's my guy.
He can crush the par fives.
There's certain people who have been dubbed with like, what do the British people get? Like they get Sir Knighted over there. I mean, he has been knighted for life with me in playing in, DFS. I mean, in betting, Scotty Scheffler, Morikawa, Finau, whoever else was on that lineup in the PGA Championship that brought me home $100,000. Yeah, Scotty Scheffler. Like I automatically, what was it? 2 weeks ago, I played him. I forget what fall tournament it was. Dude, he was like 7% owned. I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, Scotty Scheffler scores. That's why I asked about the scoring when we let off the podcast. Like, he's gonna just score a ton of points, and
Yeah.
you get him at the multiplier. All you need Scotty Scheffler to do is make the cut. He's gonna ball out. The dude just makes birdies, right?
With 4 par 5s, I mean, with his distance, he can hit all the par 5s in 2. So, I mean, he doesn't equal upside.
He doesn't carry the physical persona where you would assume that he's like big bad bomber guy.
Totally agree.
But when you look into the data, I mean, is it sorted here? My thing isn't filtering by that, but yeah, driving. Is it driving here?
Yeah, I mean,
I know he's like in the top 5 percentile. I mean, you wouldn't think he is, but he is. Yeah, there he is. He's number 6.
I think guys down here who I think have a lot of value. I already talked about Westwood and Kuchar. I think Siwoo Kim is interesting. No one will play him because people still think all he does is withdraw. He's been playing really well. And then, man, I am not a fan of the guy, but I'm playing him at the Houston Open. He's been playing really well, and he's obviously won here. I mean, Zach Johnson, 1.35. He just kind of plays his course well. Obviously.
Zach Johnson's a guy I would consider, like, you know, even a Bernhard Langer. Oh my God, Bernhard 1.65. I feel like he always makes the cut. He does. He generally makes the cut.
I'm playing one of the old guys. Just play Couples.
Yeah, Couples has been playing well. Yeah, to your point, I would just check weather. I mean, it's still 2 weeks out, but in the event that it's, you know, hashtag weather, it is November. I mean, yeah, Zach Johnson becomes elite. So does, I mean, seriously, Bernhard Langer becomes an elite play if there's weather. If we feel like the scoring is going to be reduced, you know, then you could really start looking into like those 1.65 plays, like you mentioned, Fred Couples. I don't know if there's anyone else. Oh wow, Mark Leishman's 1.45. I mean,
yeah. So I was going to bring him up. I think the 2 best values on the entire slate are Leishman because he's been horrible, and Cam Smith, who are both 1.45. I mean, I have them highlighted, and again, I'll get more into it. All this stuff. So the guys I've highlighted are when you kind of filter out for the winning criteria. There's like 9 guys, the ones I've highlighted, who technically quote unquote can win. Do I think Leishman or Smith's going to win? No, but I do think they have pretty high upside. And like Cam Smith, you'll know in the first 6 holes, he's going to like bogey all of them, or he's going to be like 3 under. Like there's not really in between, but he can get really high. Other than that,
the 1.45 is high for Cam Smith. Like I feel like that's an interesting play. I never play him because he never helps me. He's just a guy I can't get right. Okay. So one guy, we'll get towards the latter end of this podcast. I mean, we haven't talked about the greatness himself, Mr. Tiger Woods, 1.15. I mean, it's not a good price. You and I probably will both agree with that. But
that's a bad one.
He did win last year.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's tough. Everyone knows, I mean, I don't know. I'm such a homer. Like, I know I'll play him, and I know it's a negative EV definitely at this price. But if there's someone who I think can just randomly show up and just play well, it's probably him. Because at the end of the day, and this is probably more of a narrative than anything, but it's like, I don't think he really gives a shit about these last 3 tournaments he's played, like, at all. Like, it's all about Augusta. He says it. So he's played in November. He's been playing it. So I don't know. I mean,
the one thing you can't have, like, if you're making multiple lineups, say you're making 10 lineups in this $20 tournament that we're looking at right now, you can't not have Tiger because you will have a very emotional bad weekend in the event you have 0 Tiger and he's like winning. You know, you can't do that. You got to have like 1 or 2 lineups with Tiger.
No, I mean, the only guys, I mean, I guess an easier way to say, if I'm looking between 1 and 1.15, I think the only guys I have no interest in would be Fleetwood because he looks lost except for the putter.
I'm done with him. I'm done with him right now.
He looks like lost when he's hitting the ball. He just doesn't know where it's going. I think he's off for me. Jason Day, no way. Hatton, no. Patrick Reed is interesting.
Because he's a freaking gamer. The dude just gonna show up. He's pissed off. I love him. He's just mad all the time.
I do too. Like, you notice. I mean, you can never rely on his form for anything because it doesn't matter because he just decides when he's gonna be good. But I've decided him. I'm probably not gonna play Finau because he'll be so popular, and then I probably won't play Xander. And dude, I mean Bryson. I'm so sick of Bryson. So I don't have much interest. I don't care if he can carry the ball 4 yards. That's incredible. But number
How's
one,
his proximity to the game been? How's his green and red game been? How's his proximity been?
It's better, but he's still. I mean, with all his newfound power, it's not like he's locking in his wedges everywhere. I mean,
yeah,
I would say. I mean, I'm looking at this will obviously be up on the site as well. I mean, on his current form, I mean, he hasn't played in a while. His last two are pretty good. I mean, he won a while ago at that weaker field. He came top 10 like 4 weeks ago, but he hasn't really played much. So I don't know. I mean, his form isn't bad. Obviously, he's won in his last 2 tournaments, but
you know who's been playing well during the fall swing? I think you can confirm. I haven't been following as much, but man, our boy Bubba, like,
Bubba's
hasn't he been playing well?
Yeah, he's going to be popular, probably rightfully so. I mean, I missed a good number. I think saw a lot of people post on Twitter with a good number. He definitely is live to win, and he's been playing really well. 5th and 12th the last 2 years. Obviously, he's won it twice. He's pretty comfortable here. I think I like him too. I have no interest. I mean, I'm sure you'll play Fitzpatrick because you're a loser, but he sucks. I'm not.
I'm done with Fitzmagic. He did do well for me early in the year, but he's not that guy. I mean, he's just I can't.
He's just such a wuss. Like, I just don't really like him.
Do you see he called out Bryson?
Yeah, hilarious. It was just like, I mean, it was. I think guys are interesting in this range. I mean, what do you think of? I'm a big fan of his talent. I think you like him too. I mean, he's never played it, but Matthew Wolff has been playing pretty well, except when I took him as my one and done and he shot plus 18. But
yeah,
he's been playing pretty well. Obviously, his driving game is elite. He can score on the par 5s. I think he's not going to be owned because people saw him suck 2 weeks ago. And then, you know, Euros tend to play decently well here. I like Eric Van Rooyen. I think he's really good. Again, not any course history to show, but
I feel like this isn't a Wolf course, though. By the way, just my 2 cents. I mean, obviously, it could be wrong, but
just because you can't really overpower it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Iron Game is definitely more obviously and heavily involved, and you know, I don't know. I mean, Wolf, I will say, has surprised me. He's been better than I thought. Like on the long-term aggregate, you know, I was more bearish on him to start his career, and I'm just kind of like, wow, well, he's just playing better than I thought. So I mean, I'm not going to write him off, but you can't play everybody. Cameron Champ, I would never touch him here. I mean, he's 1.3. People could get sucked into that. No. Who else will I not play?
I mean, do you have any interest in like? Okay, here's a good guy, like elite bent grass putter. These greens are like lightning fast.
Joaquin Niemann. I already know you're talking about Niemann. 1.4,
no,
right?
I'm off him. I'm talking about who's been playing horrible, and that's Brent Snedeker. 1.35.
Yeah, I'm not touching Brent Snedeker. No way.
He might be like.
No way.
He might be like -% owned.
How about Sergio? Nobody gonna play Sergio? He won here 2017.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's won here. Obviously, he won like a couple weeks ago. Now that he puts with his eyes closed, he seems to be pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I have a guy who I'm going to end up playing because I'm an idiot, and he's so annoying, and that's Lucas Glover at 1.4. He might have 50 putts. He might have 50 putts. I don't mind Glover. I'm going to play Munoz. I know he hasn't played here, but he's like just playing really well. I just respect his talent.
See, there's guys real quick. I'll just name some guys. Like, I like Adam Scott. I guess I don't like that multiplier. Like, I'm trying to learn more.
That's my issue too. I like Adam. If Adam Scott was like 1.25, I think he'd be like a core play.
Yeah, I just don't like his price. I don't like. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, I don't think I like Morikawa's play. I'm playing Morikawa for the record, but I don't really like the price. The more I look at it, who else do I not?
No, who we have not discussed even once is just.
To be honest. Yeah, JT. Ricky's price is not good, by the way. I mean, it's just not relative to the field. Like, you know, that's the thing.
I mean, factor in. I mean, Vegas odds drive these, and obviously his popularity. I mean, that's why. If we were gonna just purely on how they're playing, like Tiger should be like 1.6, Ricky should be like 3.8. I mean, he's been horrible, but I don't know. I mean, I think the interesting play in that spot, and I hate playing him, is Brooks.
I'm not touching Brooks because I'm a firm believer in injuries, and yeah, I guess we'll see what he does this week. But that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any interesting guys? I'm just trying to think of guys who like we don't really view as someone who can really win, but they could be value. I mean, Billy Horschel 1.2. That seems low. He's had like one good tournament and lost to Jake Herman, so I don't know. I mean,
by the way, Billy Horschel. Speaking of him, like Travis and I, we got to get back to Billy Horschel's agent. Has been like sliding in our DMs to collaborate on a project. So yeah, we'll play some Billy Hole out of good karma.
Oh, okay. Maybe I will play him.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Corey Connors. He can't putt. I bet Louis for like the 12th year in a row he won't win.
No, Louis
I don't know, I mean,
pisses me off. I never play Louis. I just have this like law. I don't play him. But yeah, you're right. Like he will show up for the Masters. What's his multiplier? I can't find him.
1.2. A little. I mean, it's probably fair.
It's not terrible. Yeah, it's fair. It's not terrible.
I mean, it's funny because like he's in the same. If you look at the 1.2s, for instance, I think that's like a key range. That's to me is like looking at like the 8K to mid 7K on DraftKings. It's like I think the best play in the 1.2 only is probably Bubba. I like Ian Poulter, and then for me after that, it's probably someone like Louis or Spieth, because like I'm not playing. I just trust here, even with this horrific, doesn't know where the ball's going. I trust Spieth over Brendan Todd. I like Kevin Kisner. I just don't know this course is really for him. Horschel just doesn't really make a lot of birdies for me. Connors sucks at putting. Fitzpatrick is a wuss. So it's like I don't know. That's kind of how I try to whittle down.
It literally looks like as I'm going through this now. If you guys are still watching, thanks, paying attention. Mm-hmm. I'm filtered it by the multipliers, and like Paul Casey in that 1.2 range just fits the bill for the strokes gained historically. Yeah. And then, you look at his aggregate, like he is definitely popping. I mean, Paul Casey, of course, is a troll to us in specific. And, people probably do forget how disastrous it was for him last year in that missed cut. But, he's a grinder. That's been on his memory, right? And I feel like one thing we didn't bring up, we'll get to the end of this podcast. It is tough to win here your first year or two. Clearly, I don't even know what the odds are, but Paul Casey's just your standard. I mean, been coming here for years, coming off a bad year. He's had his moments this year. I mean, nothing great, not a traditional Paul Casey year, but to me, looking at this sheet, he kind of just sticks out like a sore thumb. I agree with you on Bubba, by the way. But also, again, Paul Casey is like, to me, one of the better plays of the entire slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good thing to do. I mean, it's like so on the sheet here, you'll see like I have, that's the average, points, and that's for that multiplier. So I think an interesting thing to look, and not that you want to drive all of your decisions off points, but you look at someone like Casey or Poulter, who's averaging around 60. With that multiplier 1.2, I mean, all of a sudden, then you're jumping up to like the 70s and 80s range, where it's like you have a guy like Finau, who's averaging 65 with less multiplier, or DJ, who's only averaging 66 and he gets no multiplier. So I think it's if they basically come close in line with them, and DJ doesn't win, that's like a big value. And it's the same thing I think of with someone like Kuchar, who's still averaging 60 points at 1.35. I mean, if this guy finishes 29th, he might outscore Webb Simpson, who finishes 7th or 6th. So I just think it's interesting to think about.
Well, yeah, to your point, I was just kind of messing around with the sheet while you were talking about that point. One guy that sticks out, again, just kind of going through the sheet, is Abraham Answer. We didn't talk about him, but 1.25 multiplier kind of fits the bill. The projected points, his average points, he's accruing on SuperDraft. I mean, the history obviously is a negative. We've talked about that. But again, he does stick out. I would definitely recommend some Abraham Answer. And he's a gamer. I mean, he's not going to win, but I think he's a good.
I think my last question before we end it. So are you playing Phil or not playing Phil? I know you have that awful bet, but yeah.
No, the bet was for, it wasn't for the Masters, was it? It was for the PGA Championship. I don't think I have him for the Masters. No, I don't have him. He's been playing well, though, when he plays in the old guy tournaments, but he does nothing when he's on the PGA.
Yeah.
So the answer is no, I won't play, or I won't bet him. Famous last words, watch Phil wins. But other than that, to circle the wagons, all of our stuff's at dfskarma.com. Of course, betkarma.com as well. We do have our golf core plays that you can access under the subscriptions area. $10 for Masters Week, all of our PGA content, core plays, projections, all that jazz. So make sure you head over to dfskarma.com. Sam, anything else you want to add to the SuperDraft podcast Masters edition?
Yeah, don't just play guys because they have a high multiplier. Make sure they're actually good players. I think that's common
True.
mistake. I mean, I
No,
love
it's definitely-
CT Pan, but he's probably going to miss the cut. So I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I think it was a good way
Same
to
with
decipher and analyze this data sheet. And, there's definitely different ways to make lineups, and SuperDraft is offering some great tournaments. So head on over to SuperDraft, promo code KARMA. Hop in the tournaments with us. Look forward to seeing you guys in the leaderboards. All right, guys, good luck this week. Thanks.